Hey, hello friends, welcome to my channel. In this Python beginner tutorial series, today let's discuss about Python tuples. Okay, so this is part 2 of our Python tuples video. In our previous video, which is part 1, where we discussed about introduction to tuples and how to create and access tuples. So continuing on with this video series, today let's discuss about how to add, how to update and how to remove tuples and how to unpack tuples. So there's a concept called unpacking in tuples, which is really interesting. We'll discuss about that one as well. Okay, so to start with, let's understand how to update tuple items. Okay, so in our previous video, if you remember that we actually said tuples are immutable. Actually, once created, we cannot change it, right? So how can we update it? Update it is another question that arises in our mind. So there is a workaround for it, so you cannot directly update a tuple, but how you, so if you are put in a situation that you, if you have to update a tuple, what you can actually do is you can convert it into a list, which is a different data type, and then make the update operations or addition or removal operations in the list, and then convert it back to tuple. Okay, so that's the workaround we have for tuples, right? So let's see an example. Okay, so we have a tuple called tuple 1. So in tuple 1 I have three items like 1 2 and 3, and I have printed it here. Okay, so what if I want to say update this? Okay, let's try something like this. Let's try to use an append operation. Okay, 4. So I'm trying to append a value 4. So let me print this. It says a tuple object has no attribute called append. That's because tuple does not has append value, append method. Once it is created, we cannot change it, right? So this is the error we get when we deal with tuples. So what we can do is, in case if you want to update any item, right? What you can actually do is, you can convert that into a list. Okay, so how do we convert it? Tuple 1, okay, say list 1 equal to list of tuple. What I'm doing is I'm just converting this into a list. Okay, I'm converting this tuple into a list. So once converted, what I will do is, say if I want to update an existing value, say if I want to update this value 1 to 100. Okay, so maybe I'll update this value. So list 1, um, list 1 of 1. Okay, so equal to 0 equal to 100. Like say if I want to update this value 1 into 100, so what I can do is I am just replacing the value in the first 0th index to 100. So once that is done, print list 1. Now, okay, let's go step by step. So now you can see, first we had we created a list, right? First we had a tuple. Let me print our tuple here. Let me print my tuple. So first we had a tuple called 1, 2 and 3, right? And then we actually wanted to convert that into a list and replace it with a value called 1, right? So now we converted it to a list. Maybe I'll print the list here as well. Print list 1. Let's look into it one by one. So first we had a tuple, and then we converted it into a list, and then we updated the value in the list. So once it is updated, what I have to actually do is I have to convert that back into tuple, right? So what I'm gonna do is, now tuple 1 equal to list of, sorry, tuple of list 1. So what I'm doing is I'm just converting it back into tuple. Now if you see, first we had a tuple, and then we converted into a list, and then updated the value in the list, and then again converted it back to tuple. Okay, so this is how you can actually update an existing value in a tuple. So there is no direct operation. All you have to do is convert it into a list, update it there, use the list operations, and then convert it back to tuple. Okay, so this is a very rare operation which you use in tuple, because once tuple is created, you generally use type tuple in a situation where you do not want to change values, right? So when you have fixed number of values, generally that's when you actually use tuples. But there is always an edge case, right? In case if you want to update a tuple for some reasons, you can follow this approach, right? So now we saw how to update an existing value in the tuple. Similarly, we'll see how to add a value in the tuple. Okay, so earlier we saw an append operation, right? So we can use an append operation here. So list one dot append of value. Say I want to append a value called 4. Now if I use this, right, see, initially we had the list tuple and then we converted into a list, and then appended the value 4 and then converted it back to tuple again. Okay, this is how I can add an item to the existing tuple. Okay, so this is, and add tuple to tuple. Another interesting option we have is, like, now we saw how to append value to the tuple, right? But what if we want to add another tuple? Okay, so let's say we have another tuple called tuple 2. Tuple 2 equal to, say we have 4 comma 5. Okay, now tuple 1 equal to tuple 1 plus tuple 2. Now I can combine these two values into a single tuple. Okay, this is how I can use this is how I can add multiple tuple values into a single tuple, right? We had tuple 1, tuple 2, added these both and placed it in tuple 1. Okay, this is another way how you can add values, add tuple items, right? And then we have remove, right? For remove, I will go back to my previous example. Oops, yeah. So here, instead of append operation, we can use remove. So if I use remove value 1, so I can remove the value 1 from this tuple. Alright, so see, initially we had this value 1, 2, and 3. Now we have values only. Now we have removed the value 1. Okay, so this is how we can use the remove method to remove an item from the tuple. Alright, so similarly we have something called delete. There's a delete keyword where we can use it to delete the tuple, existing tuple. Delete tuple 1. Let me comment all those things. Yeah, so there's an option called delete. There's a keyword called del, which we can use it against tuple to delete the existing tuple. Right? I've used delete tuple 1. Now if I try to print it, it will no longer be there and it will throw me an error. Tuple 1. Right. Fine. See, now we got an error. So this is how you can delete an existing tuple. And now coming back to the interesting topic of actually interesting topic in tuple, like unpacking a tuple, right? So what is unpacking? Okay, in python, we create a tuple, right? When we create a tuple, we normally assign values to it, right? So if you see an example here, like we have uh, values India, USA, UK, the actual country values into tuple 1. So this basic tuple creation is called packing. Okay, but we are also allowed to extract the values back into the variables. So basically it's a vice versa operation. This option is actually called as unpacking. Okay, let me show you an example, like how to understand this unpacking concept, mm, understand to understand this unpacking concept better. All right, now, okay, let me put in those values like India, USA, and UK. Right, let me remove all these things. Right, print, oops, print tuple 1. Right, now we have created a tuple 1. Okay, so this concept is actually called as packing. How to unpacking is you can actually assign values to these variables. All right, so let's see if I want to identify, let's say if I want to identify what continent these countries belongs to. Let me put values called Asia, North America, and Europe. All right, I am assigning these values back to tuple 1 again. Now if I want to print the value of Asia, it will print India for me, because if you see, I have the values Asia, North America, Europe, which is actually mapped to India, USA, and UK. So if I print Asia, it will print India. Similarly, if I print North America, it will print me value USA. If I use Europe, then I will print, it will print me value UK. Okay, so this is how you can assign, you can unpack the actual values from the existing tuple and assign a different value. Okay, so this is how, I hope now you understand how unpacking works. Right, so similarly there's something called star operation, like star, how to use asterisks. Okay, so just to read you out the definition, if the number of variables is less than the number of values, you can add and star to the variable name, and values will be assigned to the variables in as a list. Okay, so now you have equally matching items, right? You have three countries, three continents. Whenever it is matching, it, so it worked perfectly, as perfectly fine. What if you add additional items? Say you had France, you had another country called France. Now we have four values and three variables only. Now there is a mismatch, so it will throw you an error. So it says too many values to unpack, we expected only three. Yes, so in this kind of situation, what you can do is, there's an operation, there's an option which you can use called star. So if you use the star, what will happen is, it will assign the first two values here. It will assign the respective values, and whatever is remaining, it will assign it as a list to this particular variable. Now, what will happen is, Asia will be assigned to India, North America is USA, Europe will be both UK and France. Okay, this is something interesting. So now we have both values UK and France. If I add one more value here, say let me add Germany, it will add. Now Germany will also be added to the variable called Europe. One interesting thing to note here is, you can see it is created as a list, where else if I print Asia, it is not a list, it is just a returning variable. It's just a string variable. But where else, if you, wherever you use the value star, it will print, it will return as a, um, it will return as a list. Okay, so it is not necessary you should use the star only at the end, but even you can use it anywhere. So see, if I use star at North America here, so what will happen is, the first value will be assigned to India, and the last value will be assigned to Europe. Germany and Europe will be matching. India and Asia will be matching, and the remaining values in the middle will be matching to the, will be assigned to North America. Say if I print North America now, now it printed the three values in the middle: USA, UK, and France. If I add one more variable, say if I add Switzerland. If I add Switzerland, now what am I missing? Yeah, if I add Switzerland, Now the values USA, UK, France and Switzerland assigned to the North American continent. Alright, so this is how you can use star operation to unpack a tuple. Alright, so I hope you understood how to add, update, remove the tuple items and also how to unpack tuples. In case if you have any queries, please post it into the comment section. And if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.